Hey, I'm Dr. Lance Knob with the Denali Consulting and 4% Breakthrough Communities. And I'm here today with Dr. Lyneil Mitchell, great friend of mine, owner of Physio Gym, Wobbler 360. He's got a new product and a new book coming out. Welcome, Lyneil. Thanks for joining today. Listen, so many things to talk about, physical therapy and fitness coming together, right? You and I are so passionate about that. You've got a long and accomplished career treating, the most elite athletes, professional athletes, all the way down to everyday athletes. You've got the best credentials in physical therapy and fitness. You've got a new book coming out, Cracking the Athletic Code, and the subtitle, The Search for the Strong Angle. You've been talking a lot about it. You told me you're in the strong angle today. What the hell is the strong angle, and how can we all get there?
So yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome because this is really the first time that I'm getting to talk about this. So I'm super pumped. I've been talking to everybody about it, like you said, but I think my wife and my clients are getting sick of hearing about it right now. But the coolest part about it, and also the most frustrating part about it, that led to the kind of the big epiphany is this isn't something that I created, right? This isn't something because I've come up with a lot of different names for other things. Like I have this word ambikinetic that describes coordination. But the strong angle something was always there. It's always been there. It is the common denominator of all things wellness and performance, and it's in everybody's lives. And so is the weak angle. And the problem is, if you don't understand what the strong angle is, you're going to end up being in the weak angle, and you're not even going to understand where you're at and why you're having the problems that you're having, right? And that was why it was so profound to me, because I'm sitting there as this guy that has worked with all these high level athletes, and thinking that I understand everything in detail to the best of the best. I mean, not to get super into my pedigree, but I've done everything that there is to do outside of understanding this strong angle thing to really do the best that I can for anyone in wellness and performance, and also being able to train other trainers and PT and PT, physical therapists, rehab professionals in the stuff that I do. And this thing was sitting right in front of my face the whole time, and I was missing it. Right. And then one day I had this big aha moment. Right. But, first I want to kind of describe what I'm feeling like this is right now. Are you familiar with UFC at all?
Yeah.
Ultimate Fighting Championship. So everybody thought they understood what fighting was. And then Hoist Gracie comes in 1993 and shows everybody what jujitsu is. And boom, everything has to change. The Fosbury flop was the same way. Right. And basically it was this strategy that could be used that was always there that people just didn't understand. Right. And it ended up defying what everybody thinks. And, we were just talking a little bit about artificial intelligence. And I would say Chat GPT is like this new thing, right? That, we're seeing as this disruptive, innovative type of thing. Right. But again, I come back to this thing. It's not something that I created. It's something that I ended up becoming aware of. And then I found out how universally that it applied. Right. So at this point, I'm thinking that it actually might end up being a law, in this scenario, right? So, the question is, right, what is it, right?
Yeah.
It's really the key to self-actualization, right? It's really about aligning your self-image and your self-efficacy. It's about alignment, right? And one of my favorite quotes, is the Jordan Peterson quote: "Don't say things that make you weak." Right. Well, why? Well, because you want to feel strong and you want to feel confident, right? So coming back to my experience with working with high level athletes, right? I basically, worked with some of the best athletes in the world. And I think more than anything, it was my pursuit and search for these answers that we didn't have answers to. And I couldn't stand not having the 100% confidence. I couldn't stand not having a guarantee that I was going to understand what it actually took to get these results. And you see these people getting the results, right? And you're looking at it and you're going, well, what are they doing? Well, my best, experience was just getting to stand next to these people and see how they lived, right? They lived a different lifestyle. And ultimately, the main thing is that they focused on wellness and performance as the number one priority in their lives, right? They were able to live this life that, it's almost like, you think of some type of different religion where you're, literally walking in and seeing the world in a different way and looking out at the, the secular world, and going, oh, whoa, they really do things a lot different. Us as athletes, we have to live in this, certain way. And when I saw that, I realized that there were common denominators. And so, over time, I kept looking for those common denominators between all of these, high level athletes. And one of the main things was that they were so convicted in what they were doing, right? They didn't have any doubts. There was no plan B. Right. And for most of us, we're living in the weak angle, and there's a million different plans. Right. We see a shiny penny, and every time basically you see a new thing, you don't have that conviction. So you go, oh, maybe I'll try this, and maybe I'll try that, and maybe I'll try this. And I just got sick of doing that. But at the end of the day, I was continuing to do that up until the time that I had this revelation about the strong angle. Right. So, basically, my first aha about the strong angle was understanding that I had been trained under this system and as a PT to understand that you can't overload the weak joint angles, right? And you're constantly trying to put people in position of strength to get a foundational, functional performance transfer. So I have this specialized equipment that this inventor Mike Maddox created. A lot of it's isokinetics. It's it uses accommodating resistance, and the whole idea of accommodating resistance is that it allows you to basically overload the strong angle and take the load off of the weak angle. So in physical therapy, that's a huge deal, because whenever you have somebody that is injured, if you're overloading the weak angle, you're potentially going to put them at risk for injury, right? And ultimately, I come back to this, all of this training that I had, right? I'm constantly, looking for these ways to do things the best ways. I got involved with this system because these machines were designed to give you this guaranteed functional transfer without putting, a whole lot of stress on your joints, and, putting a lot of pain, and allowing you to recover faster, not allowing you to have so much delayed onset muscle soreness. And the inventor of the equipment eventually ended up becoming my partner in the Wobbler 360. He was actually the guy that invented the Wobbler. We bought the patent from him, and now I have this new machine, the Up Squat, that we're going to talk about. But originally, he had invented this isokinetic machine, and for for 8 years, I've known this guy. Maybe it might be 10 now, right? He's been telling me it's all about the strong angle. It's all about the strength curve, right? And basically, he would say, you have to do it in perfect form. And basically, I was working out on this machine a couple of years ago, and I realized that I learned this new word called path dependency. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So it is the number one factor that causes change to not be able to happen rapidly. The path that you're on, right, is disrupting your ability to make the changes right now that you need to make, that could make all the difference, right? And it happens to everybody, and it's a big problem in healthcare. That's one of the reasons why healthcare takes a long time to change, because we've been on this long path, which isn't really, really easy to change, or people have habits in their lives that it makes it really hard for them to change everything all at once, right? So I too fall victim to this. Unknowingly, I'm consistently thinking that when I'm talking to this inventor guy who invented these machines to work you in the strong angle, to keep you in perfect form, I have a kinesiology degree, I'm a physical therapist, and I'm doing all of these exercises in the weak angle. Why? Because that's the way that I was trained. I didn't even really quite understand what the strong angle was. And it was this huge epiphany that I had been consistently doing this weak angle movement, and ultimately partially sabotaging myself. At best, I was being inefficient.
So
Right.
how do we, Lyneil, tell us how
Sure.
it sounds like wellness and performance as a priority and the conviction are keys. And I love that. How do we move there? How do we start to get there a little bit? The everyday person, the recreational athlete, the elite athlete, how can we head in that direction?
Yeah, it's pretty simple, and at the same time, it's not 100% well defined, because the strong angle is both strategy and it's actually real world, physical performance, right? And that was the big thing that was the aha to me. I was sitting and talking to somebody, a colleague of mine, and we were kind of arguing about the idea of the physical part. And I, going back and forth, and I finally said, well, look, do you want to be in the weak angle or the strong angle? Do you want to feel weak or do you want to feel strong? And another epiphany came out to me, and it was like, oh, that's it right there. Nobody really wants to feel weak, but they don't realize that they're putting themselves into positions of weakness. Just like Jordan Peterson said, he says, don't say things that make you weak, right? So recognizing that everything about strength is about alignment, right? Everything about wellness and performance and success is about alignment. And having these definitions for yourself is really the starting place. And ultimately, the recognition that there is a strong angle and there is a weak angle in every situation is the starting point. So the strong angle, when it comes down to it, and I've studied a lot of sports psychology, over the years, is really about aligning your self-image with your self-efficacy, right? So your self-image, right, is one of the most important things in sports psychology to manage, because if you don't believe that you're the person, like the imposter syndrome thing that we've talked about a lot, right?
Oh
If
yeah.
you don't
Oh yeah.
believe that you're the person that deserves to be out there doing the thing that you're doing, right, you're going to have a lot of mental anguish, right? And so then with that comes self-efficacy. I can still remember the first time, like 12 years ago, when I came across this world, as an ex-athlete and, owning my own business. Self-efficacy. It was like, that's it right there. That's the word, right? That's what everybody's missing. Now we have a definition for it, right? The perception of your own abilities to perform, right, is the most critical thing for performance psychology, right? And if you're not putting that first and you're not managing that in your life, it might as well be last, because you're leaving yourself so vulnerable to, and that's what we see in the world today, right? Everybody puts themselves into this weak angle and they don't know it. And then they're like, I don't know why I'm so stressed out. And I don't know why I'm so unfulfilled and I'm not happy, because they're not managing their self-image and they're not managing their self-efficacy, and they're unaware that this even exists. At the beginning of the book, I talk that one of the first lines of the book is, after having my doctorate and all of these things, what you really learn is that unfortunately you learn the most important things last. And I guess that's where I'm at now, is I'm tired of people having to live that way. So I wanted to put this collection of all of this stuff together to go, look, this is the starting point, right? You want to start with all the best information, right? Instead of ending up in physical therapy, and which typically happens to people, and you're like, oh, hey, I bet you didn't know this. I bet you didn't know that 99% of these non-contact injuries were preventable, and all of these things that go on. And people are like, oh my gosh, I never knew that, right? And ultimately, this physical therapy perspective and point of view is so important, because we're really the functional experts, right? The science that we use is guaranteed to get people a functional transformation, right? And that's what the strong angle is all about. It's about understanding this certainty and the guarantee that you can get this functional, real world transformation in your wellness and performance. You just have to access it.
I love it. Let's transition right into the physical therapy industry, the fitness industry. Nobody's more passionate than both you and I on kind of bringing healthcare and fitness together. They are traditionally very different worlds. And I personally believe that bringing them together is the absolute best way to serve, our communities and to serve the world. And you and I have both taken on a big battle in trying to do that. So why is it, generally speaking, failing? Why are we failing those industries and bringing them together to impact the health of our communities? What's the problem? What's the gap? And how does all this conversation about the strong angle come into play?
Exactly. And that's what I'm excited to keep talking about, because, either I'm right or I'm crazy, right? So basically, everything that we're talking about that's wrong with everything is a misalignment, right? In healthcare, we treat everybody like a patient. That's the word that we use. What does that mean, right? You're immediately demeaning somebody's status as a human, right? That human doesn't want to be a patient, right? They want to go back to living their lives. And more than anything, right, they want to have improvement in their wellness and performance. And when they go into that medical situation, they don't really get that, right? And then when they go into the fitness situation, they don't really get that either, because most of what we've done over the years, and this is what happens when you're in the weak angle, right, is that you have to conform to rituals and rules and routines and be disciplined. Discipline equals freedom. And you got to embrace the grind, and you got to grind, grind, grind. You got to be miserable to be happy. What? Right? That is just so not true. right? The happiest people are the ones that are the most fulfilled because they're in the appropriate alignment, the alignment with their self-image and their self-efficacy. And the people in the healthcare world and the people in the fitness world, I don't know why we don't study performance psychology, but we don't. Right. And then in the world of business, right, everything is just designed to get people to get money out of their pocket and make a transaction. But it's not really designed to improve their wellness and their performance. If it's not designed to improve their wellness and performance, there's no way that it can guarantee it, right? It doesn't start with that. And if you want to get, coming back to this idea of alignment, you have to start with the end in mind. So then you can align the two things together, right? So if you don't know where you're starting, how are you ever going to get to where you want to go? Right. So and that's the biggest thing about this. Even the best of the best people that you know right now are in the weak angle because they have no idea how to connect right now with this transformation, right? They haven't even been asking those questions. The big question that I asked years ago, when I first started learning about flow states, about flow states, getting in the
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
Well, if
Hey,
you
and
can,
Lyneil,
yeah,
hey, I know there's some people listening. Make sure you put your questions in. Joanne DiMatteo, thanks for the compliment. And Lyneil,
oh, I
you
can't
know,
see the questions.
okay, Hannah and I will relay them to you.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, you're making me think
Stay
about
on course, huh?
being aligned on all angles is something Richard C. Wilson, owner of the Family Office, talks about. And I think that is so powerful. And the other thing, there's Benjamin Hardy from Who Not How and The Gap and the Gain is coming out with a new book, 10X is better than 2X. And a lot of what you're talking about makes me think of that, some really great stuff. So anyway, keep going with that thought, please.
Yeah, I'm curious at this point, is there any other ideas of where we're getting misaligned in healthcare on your end? I'll throw the question back out at you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with healthcare, we're misaligned from most places and like kind of the core focus and the passion, right? When it's not about what's in the client's best interest and taking care of the clients, then everything's going to go wrong. And that's the problem, right? If it
Exactly.
becomes more profit focused rather than, customer centric.
So again, this strong angle thing's about priorities, right?
Yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
being able to
About
have a strategy
the
strategy to
core.
keep these priorities in line. And I was having a problem a little bit with using the word strong because that can be sometimes polarizing for people, but we don't want to be weak, right? And alignments make us strong, whether it's a strategy or it's actually coming back to we're both exercise and fitness people. Well, you can't really improve your fitness if you're constantly misaligning yourself. We all know that the fitness idea is to keep yourself in good form while you're doing exercise to get the most benefit about what you're doing. But if the alignment that you're in isn't going to get you the transformation that you're looking for, you're still in a misalignment,
How can we,
right?
you mentioned knowing where we stand now. How can we take a measurement? How can we take our baseline?
Well, that's exactly it, right? So, in the reality of it is, the best strategies all start with a results based protocol or an evaluation based protocol. So, you have to really be able to understand how to do the assessments and the evaluations, just like we do in PT. But if you start with the wrong end in mind, like we do in PT, the whole goal in PT is ridiculous. I want you to come into my business and leave after 8 weeks. Why? You spend all that time, right? Starting in this initial transformation process with these people, right? And just because we are misaligned with the insurances and focusing on leading everything through the physician centered model, right? We just keep following that path dependency and we never stop to think, oh, wait, why am I telling that person to leave? Can I keep helping them?
Well, that's
Right?
crazy. And I hope with your motto, I know with ours, we certainly, that's the beauty of having fitness connected to physical therapy and healthcare, right? So that they can blend and transition into a healthy life and stay a lifetime client, right? And you can continue to serve them, prevent future injuries, or if they do have a problem, they can bounce more quickly in, get quicker information, quicker help, and get back on track more quickly. And even while they're having some therapy, they could actually simultaneously do some exercise and fitness together, which is another problem with kind of traditional physical therapy, traditional healthcare.
Well, it's a big problem because we start people in strong angles in PT. We use bands and isokinetics, and we're focused on not overloading their joints. And then once we get to a certain point, and this also comes back to all things are neurological first, right? One of the things that PT or people don't understand about physical therapy is that we have a ton of education in neuroscience. Everybody loves Andrew Huberman. He's the new neuroscience guy, right? He hasn't had one physical therapist on there yet. I hope maybe me or you could be the one of the people first. That would be cool. But we're the functional neuroscience experts, right? We're the ones that actually take the neuroscience and apply it into everyday life. We're using it every day. And PTs are neuroscience based, right? We have a board specialty certification that you can get in neuroscience, right? In those conditions. But then when we start getting into fitness, we immediately abandon neuroscience and we go into the weak angle of exercise physiology and fitness. We forget about putting the nervous system first. And again, this is about alignment. All the changes that happen in your body start with your nervous system, right? So you talk to most PTs, and what do? They're transitioning people to barbell and deadlift exercises, right? That don't have a direct functional improvement. You just get better at exercising, and it creates an indirect functional improvement. Why wouldn't you keep working on that functional improvement? Well, like I was saying before, the reason why I got into these systems early on, in my career that used all of these machines is because that's what they were designed for. They were only designed for functional improvement and not getting you better at exercising. Your exercising should be getting you better at the things that you want to transform into.
And tell us
Right?
how the Wobbler 360, the equipment that you've brought to the world and partnered with, and also your new squat machine, the Up Squat, how they're superior. And also, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, all the entrepreneurs listening, how does a physical therapist go ahead and bring a product to market, right? A service-based business is hard enough, but I know there were a lot of new challenges that we've had. So give us a few insights and pearls on that.
Yeah. So, these machines and these pieces of equipment I have, they're all designed for a specific purpose, a specific functional transformation, right? Where a dumbbell is designed to do a million things, right? And well, maybe really designed to do one thing is load you in a negative way that overloads your weak angle and whatever movement that you're doing. But the equipment that was designed by Mike Maddox was always designed to do something specific, which was to improve your functional performance. And if you're not really looking at functional performance and understanding what it is and trying to understand what it is, it makes it even more confusing. But everything that we do in function basically uses the entire body. So, one of the things that I joke around with people all the time, I'm like, well, where do you want to feel it when you're swinging a golf club? Is there a muscle that you want to feel it in? Do you want to feel it in a certain area? No. Those types of movements, it's almost you don't want to feel anything. You want to feel that sweet connection when you hit the ball, when you punch the bag, when you kick the bag, when you kick the ball. All these movements are really, what I talk about in the strong angle. It's this balancing point between the perfect harmony of tension and relaxation. Right. And that's also what we want in our lives. We need a little bit of tension and a little bit of relaxation in this balancing point that allows us to feel great and keep moving forward. But if we have too much tension, right, it creates too much stress. And if we have too much relaxation, we're going to be, laying on the couch watching movies all day. Right. So it's this balancing point of having this. I feel good, but I'm having enough strain to move us forward. And the equipment, particularly the up squat now, actually puts you in the perfect form to allow you to self-correct your body mechanics. And it allows you, and this is one of the things that I've also been talking about, is that we have length, width, and height, right, as the 3 dimensions. And then you have time, which is the 4th dimension. Well, the 5th dimension is feel. Right. And feel is what allows you to self-correct. And we don't pay attention to that enough. And mostly coming back to nobody thinks about this, but this is a nervous system thing. When you go to pick up a dumbbell, it's literally your body feeling how heavy or how light that dumbbell is and then reacting to it. So we react to certain forces and resistances and speeds. Our body's constantly integrating that sensory information and trying to create some type of motor output, to allow you to have some certain effect. So the machines that he creates are all designed to give you this type of sensory feedback to allow you to self-correct your body and keep you in this perfect form. And the first thing that it does, and the first starting point on the training with the strong angle, is to help you correct your side dominance problem. So everybody knows this in the sports world, that eventually you have to learn how to do things with both hands, right? If you're all right-handed and you're a basketball player and you can't shoot or dribble to the left side, you're eventually going to get weeded out. But in biomechanics, this is this term that I have, ambikinetic, that I had to come up with because there is no word for it, means that you're using your whole body to do movements. And ambidextrous means that you're using both hands at the same time. Well, in the elite level athletes and the best movers, the reason why they have the best movement economy, the reason why they're the most powerful, is because they're able to use their whole body to absorb impact and create force, particularly during rotation. So, and what happens is, if my right shoulder turns back, right, and I'm going to bring my right shoulder forward, my left shoulder and my left hip help my right shoulder to come forward. And literally every human functional movement works like that. Our body works as a whole unit. And when you can't see it that way, you end up isolating the body and putting it into these weak angles. And the interesting part is, in function, a lot of our isolation understanding actually happens when we have injuries, because there is no isolation in function. Right? Function works as a whole. And the other part about it is, which you know that I'm going to come back to this, is that the body functions the best in the strongest angles. So these machines are designed to repetitively put you into the strong angle and allow you to keep self-correcting to get into that strong angle. And why it's so important is, when we are in the weak angle, it makes us inefficient, as I've already said. So adding speed and resistance, it basically makes us more inefficient. And ultimately, mentally, it also feels like anguish. And that's the beauty of the equipment that we have. Everybody gets off of it, and a lot of times they're smiling, or they have this sense of like, whoa, this is something I need. It feels good. And the wobbler particularly is actually really fun. And it's definitely the best, piece of balancing, cardiovascular exercise equipment out there. And the same with the up squat machine. It's the best piece of equipment out there right now for improving your leg strength, because when you're in this strong angle, it allows you to basically take all the friction off of your joints and allows you just to work your muscles in your core, in your body, in this united fashion where your whole body is absorbing the force and creating the force, just like we see in these athletic functional movements. Now, I hope that I was able to get that out there. That's why I wrote a whole book on this thing, because I could go on and on and on. The big thing about the equipment is that not only does it teach the trainer and the physical therapist what this stuff is, it also helps the client to self-correct and puts them into a bigger flow state, which is where we see skill acquisition. So when we think about fitness and exercise, we don't think about it as a functional skill. You're not thinking about it as a transformation. People run for fitness, but they don't run for skill all of the time. So if you're running for fitness, you're in the weak angle because you're not sure if you're actually going to be improving the skill of running. And that's the separation there. And it's not necessarily that it's all bad. It's just really inefficient. And then that's what it leads you in here to PT with pain and problems.
So
Sorry, I know that's long-winded. I hope I
no, that
answered
was
it.
awesome. So much good stuff. Let's take a minute and let everyone know, how we know each other. I mean, going back to, I guess, 2003, 2004, 2005, the good old days. We were just getting, preparing to start private practice, my wife Jody and I, and probably most of it was 2004 and onwards. Those first couple years, we knew we needed a lot of help. We didn't have any business training background experience. And fortunately, the private practice section of the American Physical Therapy Association had a pretty damn good meeting. And, we made a point to go. And you were there. What year do you think we met? What years did you go?
2007. I remember that was the first year that I went, because I was still in grad school at the time. I was just about ready to graduate, and Bob Duvall, if you remember him
Oh,
from
yeah.
Sports Medicine of Atlanta, he was helping us with our doctorate program for our medical screening and pharmaceutical class and the imaging classes. And basically, he was trying to cater me to go to residency, which is what I ended up doing. And he was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, you should check out this private practice thing." So I decided to go, and that's where I met you.
Yeah, Bob Duvall, what an innovator, and direct access, and for physical therapists to be able to do medical screening, a real pioneer. And yeah, I mean, we were just gravitated to each other with it was obvious, how passionate you were about the profession and sports performance and sports medicine and all those things. And yeah, it was,
So let me give you a
yeah,
little nugget. I
yeah.
just spoke to him. We were talking about his involvement with your company, and
Hmm.
and he told me that my wife and I were the only PTs that he's ever trained on all of this stuff that actually implemented it into their business. And one of the things that he used to talk about all the time, and this comes back to this whole strong angle thing,
Yeah.
and I never like to live in fear. I don't know why people let it happen. It's a part of life, right? But we can strengthen ourselves so much to not live in fear. And Bob said the reason why we're not embracing direct access as PTs is because we fear retribution from our path dependency of the physician referral model. Right, that we're going to not do the right thing because we're going to continue on the same path that's gotten us the same problems in our profession that we've had, which is one of the reasons why sometimes the APTA is so frustrating when it comes to outpatient orthopedic and private practice, is that they say they're going to do all these things. The vision statement is transforming the human experience through movement or whatever. It's like, yeah, right. What are we doing? We're doing the same thing that we've been doing forever, right? We're not transforming the human experience. I don't see that. We do the same thing as the medical model, and we get people back to normal, and then we say goodbye, right? Because we allow this physician referral insurance-based model to dictate everything that we're doing. And the worst part is PTs are trained to really be the best at helping people. We're actually the best trained in the best systems to improve a human being's self-efficacy. Right. And that's one of the reasons why I got so obsessed with
Yeah.
that idea. And then you go to talk to most PTs and they have no idea what I'm talking about. And it's like, dude, you had the best training that exists for this neurological scenario to improve people's self-efficacy. And that's actually what we do. Right. We're actually the best at improving self-efficacy, and we're the best at helping people with that. But when you go into the office, it looks nothing like that. It's not happening. Right. Sorry, I know I got off track. So my point is that Bob Duvall told me recently that Janan and I were the only people that he's ever worked with after, 30 years of doing these courses that went to a perfect, direct access model and executed on that. And at one point, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, but for 4 years, we were seeing 230 visits a week at 75% self-referral direct access. And as far as I know, that's unheard of to date. Right.
Well, this is why you and I are talking and why you and I like each other so much. We were in that 70% range,
Oh, you told me that before, right? Yeah.
yeah, we were there for years and years. And, in 2007, we won the best practice in the nation, voted on by private practice owners through Advanced Magazine. So, yeah, I mean, it was fun to serve more people. And I can remember a student, I think from Arcadia, one of the top ranked physical therapy programs in the country, who was nervous. She saw a back patient, someone with low back pain, at 10 o'clock. And at 10:30, someone was going to walk in who had back pain and didn't have a prescription from the doctor, but their mindset was totally different. We're still responsible for that person at 10 o'clock versus the next one. And we
Sure.
have to use our training and our brain to do all the right things and rule out, whatever, cancer, you name it. But yeah, so definitely physical therapy still has a lot of room to really serve people the best, and the fitness world as well. And bringing these together still, I think there's still a gap. So
That's what I
I'm
was just getting
excited
ready to say. Well,
to
the
bring it
reality is that there
together.
is no gap. Like
Talk to me.
there
Yeah.
should be a complete alignment,
Yeah.
right? Because we're working with human beings to improve their functional transformation and wellness in their performance. When we look at it as a gap, that's what we see. Right. Literally, I realized this about 2 years ago. I was talking to somebody about this and I went, I'm even saying the wrong thing because I've been saying it for years. Somebody else I know wrote a book about it. And I went, no, that's our whole problem. There is no gap. It should be a smooth transition, just like that return to sports phase when you're working with a high level athlete and you're getting them back after an ACL injury. They go right back into strength and conditioning. Well, in physical therapy, where do we send them? Oh, well, maybe you can figure this out on your own. Maybe you have an athletic trainer that you can go to. Maybe you can start going to the Y and figuring
Yeah.
this out,
Yeah.
but people can't, or a personal trainer. But if you don't understand the injury side, right, how are you going to, if somebody has a knee replacement, right, how are you going to keep getting them the transformation that they're looking for? right?
Well,
It just doesn't
again,
make any sense. It's so
agreed,
misaligned.
1000%. Yeah, we look at it as a continuum. And even while someone's in therapy for a shoulder problem or a knee problem, there's no good reason why they can't be doing upper body training and fitness concurrently, or the reverse, and core. And you can start to blend, taper down their physical therapy and taper up their fitness and just continue seamlessly, right? I mean, that's our model, that's your model. However, it is certainly not widespread, right? There is a long way to go. And but one funny story I just want to tell everyone. So when you, I guess, were really getting ready to launch your practice, or maybe you already started, but I mean, I can remember when you called me and asked me about whether you should incorporate fitness into your model and how much you should do so. And fitness is hard nut to crack. And I can remember, our financials, we were losing money in fitness, a lot of money. We even had a great physical therapist decline a partnership opportunity simply because of the fitness financials. And I said to you at that time, I'm not sure. I said, no, don't go for it.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
I knew you'd probably ignore me, thank God. And right. And, I was continuing to go for it, and you obviously ignored me and went for it. But yeah, that's, you never let me, I don't know, live that down, if that's the right way of saying it. But it's not an easy
Oh, I don't
mountain to
blame you.
climb, for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, I mean, you were so adamant about that. I remember how adamant you were about it. Like, don't do it. Right. And you were like,
Depends on which
don't
day of
put
the week
yourself,
you caught me, for sure. Yeah.
probably right. Yeah. But you were basically saying, don't put yourself in the weak angle. Right. So I spent the rest of the time searching for the
Yeah.
strong angle. And that's literally where this has come from, because I was so convicted
Yeah.
that this thing could come together, that it was the future.
Well,
Right.
tell us
That,
how you did bring it together and climb the highest peaks in Pittsburgh, treating, the most elite Steelers and the most elite Pittsburgh athletes. And then I also want you to help us, tell us how, some of your struggles, right? It's not all sunshine and roses, and some of those big struggles and obstacles you had to face in getting to Huntington Beach, California, where
yeah.
you
So,
are
and I'll come
now.
back to this. Like, you were in the weak
Yeah.
angle, but you didn't really know why. And you were telling me to stay out of the weak angle because you knew that it was painful. Right. But you didn't really know what the strong angle was. Right. So that was why I kept moving forward looking for it. And I eventually translated what you said to say, listen, don't do a fitness center and do gym memberships and the way that a Snap Fitness or a Planet Fitness works. Right. I remember when Planet Fitness came out, and it was the same feeling I had with CrossFit. I was like, what? This makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right. But it was the path dependency of our industries, right? And so as I got older and more mature with this, I realized that certain things have to happen in a certain way for the progress to be made to change the culture. Right. And that's where we're struggling with right now, is changing the culture. We're changing the culture right now in a negative way. Right. You know what happens when you're weak? You're easily offended. Right. You know what happens when you're strong? You stay in your stance. Right. People can't knock you off balance. Right. The things that are coming from the outside world don't change your conviction. Right. But our whole culture and our whole world right now is in the weak angle, but there's effort being made. So it's not that we're creating sabotage. We're just creating inefficiency. We're trying to get to this end point and we can't get there. So when I first started the business, I was in the weak angle. I had no idea what I was doing. Right. I just knew that I had this conviction for blending these two things together. And ultimately, what it came down to was shifting away from this idea of regular general fitness to going to what we call now specialized fitness, right? And that's what the physio gym is about. It's about getting specialized results for those. I'm saying right now, the actualizers, right? The transformers, those people that are already down the path because they lead the way for the rest of society. 10 years ago, those people were leading the way into CrossFit, right? And it's not necessarily that CrossFit is wrong. It's just not the final answer, right? Because they're not putting the nervous system and the strong angle and all of these things first, right? They're still looking at a set of rules and conformity that don't quite get you the transfer that you're actually looking for. And ultimately, it can lead you to getting injuries really easily if you're, heading down that path, right? So the goal, of the physio gym is to give people a place where they can get out of the weak angle and into the strong angle consistently, right? And that's what all of my clients end up experiencing from top to bottom. And what that ends up doing is it changes the culture of our business. Right. And people come in here. I have an older client of mine that's a real estate guy, and he always says, I really love your message. He's like, it's not what you're saying to me, it's everything about you. He's like, you live and breathe wellness and performance. Right. And when you walk into your traditional physical therapy office, you don't even want to be there for the whole hour that you're there. Right. The whole place is set up and designed for you to want to leave in 6 to 12 weeks. There's nothing about it that lives and breathes wellness and performance. And then you go to the fitness side, and you might have yoga where they're burning incense and making you feel good. And, there's a loud music playing and people are getting rah, rah, right? But it's not really about putting wellness and performance first, right? Which is one of the things that these people that are the actualizers and the transformers, they eventually get to a point where they're like, yeah, something's wrong here, right? But I got to keep doing something. So they keep putting themselves in the weak angle because they don't have the answer, right? So, to my business situation in Pittsburgh, you've been wanting me to talk about this for a long time. You were actually, and I can't say enough, thank you for pushing me to finally have the strength to talk about it. It was, I didn't really feel embarrassed. I think that the big thing about it, I actually felt like, oh, wow, this is just like the national championship. When I lost it, I said I wasn't going to talk about wrestling, right? But I have to when it comes to this. When I lost in the national championship, everybody was like, I feel sorry for you. And I was like, I was in the national championship. Right? Like, I took that risk. I walked the walk. I walked the walk that nobody else would walk. Right. But then I had really focused a lot on leadership. And this actually comes back to this Chat GPT thing that we were talking about too. I'd like to definitely add this in here before we get off. But I basically had focused so much on leadership that when I was wrestling, I didn't care what anybody else thought. Right. It was all about me. Right. I didn't care about anybody else's feelings. I didn't have empathy. I didn't even care what empathy was. The only empathy that I had was that I knew that I was going to crush somebody else's will out there on the wrestling mat. And I learned how to do that. I learned how to know what made them feel weak. And that's what I was going to do. Right. So then as I became a leader, it had to become the exact opposite. And I realized that people had a lot of belief in me. Right. And I kind of let them down. But it came out in a negative way, right? Where like the hardest part was transitioning to California, where I went from this huge position of strength and in the strong angle that I thought I was in to now I was in this weak position, right? I had the bankruptcy, I couldn't get a loan. I couldn't, all this type of stuff. It's actually like this. I've been watching the billionaire, I can't think of the name of it right now. It's the show where the billionaires, they get $100 and they have to go out and restart their businesses, and Grant Cardone's on there and stuff. Okay. So I just watched it. Right. And so it was so like, oh yeah, that's literally what I did when I came out here. But the problem that everybody forgot was I was still on this same path that I was on before. I had linked up with Troy Polamalu in Pittsburgh. I had been working with Antonio Brown and all these elite athletes. I'm from this elite training system. I'm really one of the only people that has the pedigree in this that I have, and nobody knows about it, right? Nobody knows about what Troy Polamalu is doing in this whole story, and that's part of what the book was about. But I come here to work with this Alliance of American Football. I had decided to give up running a business. I restarted the business in Pittsburgh after the bankruptcy, and everything was going great. But my social circle was failing. I was having problems with my wife, and, people weren't, supporting me anymore. They were looking at me like somebody that had failed. And I never believed that I failed. I just believed that I got to a checkpoint and things didn't go my way, and I had to get back in the saddle and figure this out. Just like in wrestling, just because you lose one match doesn't mean that, your self-image changes because of one loss. Right? Even the national championship, you're still the person that did all the work to get there, but people from the outside world see it differently. And I realized that when I would use the word bankruptcy to talk to people, immediately they were like, oh, bankruptcy, like I was a leper or something, you know what I mean? And it was like, honestly, I was telling people at the time, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I learned everything that I could learn about that part. I wish it would have been an exit. That would have been a lot cooler, but maybe not, right? And that was the biggest thing that I had to come to accept, that I wasn't really upset about anything other than that I was sitting on this idea of what I'm doing. I didn't have the name, the strong angle. I had the physio gym and I had to stop and I had to surrender and say, it's not my time, right? I have to accept that, right? And I now need to go rebuild. And this last 5 years has been the best 5 years. I've learned more in these last 5 years than I have, in the last 20. And one of the things that I did, and a lot of people that are really close to me now, about a year ago, I picked up the Bible and I started reading the Bible. I've been reading it every day. And the cool part about it is it puts you in the strong angle, right? It's a perfect alignment and all the answers are in there. And it was part of that surrendering that I had to have, that I can't control everything, right? The only thing that I can control is how I live my life every day, right? All I can control is trying to put myself in the strong angle and keep marching forward, trying to align my self-image with my self-efficacy. And that was the hard part, right? My self-efficacy was up here and I was meeting people and they're going, no, your self-efficacy should be down here. And I was like, whoa, hold on. No. You're not going to do that to me. Right. And I stayed strong throughout this whole time. And honestly, I'll be honest with you, I'm proud of myself for
You should be.
Yeah. So
That's when true character is tested, right? In the challenging times. And
it's been great.
like all of us, right? We're all going to be tested. And, I just heard somebody say, yeah, it's not post-traumatic stress, it's post-traumatic growth. And, for everyone listening, right? I mean, starting a practice, treating the world's most elite athletes in Pittsburgh and California, it's not all easy, right? And entrepreneurs, you guys all know that, we're getting gut punches every day, every week, every month, every year. And yeah, Lyneil has showed the fortitude, to power right through. So I love all that. Thanks for being.
And let me finish with this. This is the
Yeah.
biggest thing I realized out here, because I tried to go work for somebody else, right? I
Yeah.
tried to go work for the Alliance of American Football. I tried to work for another PT. And the biggest aha that I had out here is that I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right. I did too much work on my self-image over the years to become a leader, and I couldn't change it. I couldn't go back, right? I couldn't go back to the weak angle.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good. Well, listen, we didn't even scratch the surface on a lot of topics, including nutrition and everything else, and we will get to all that. We'll figure it out. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to read the book and learn how to follow you and be part of your book launch. The book hasn't actually released yet. So tell us all how we can, how everyone can follow you, stay in touch with you, reach out to you, all the opportunities that are available.
So, and I'll just throw the nutrition nugget in there. It's not
it's
not what you eat, it's what you digest. Focus on your digestive performance, like anything else that we've talked about right now, and that'll lead you into the right path. People focus on calories in and calories out and eat this and not that, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with the digestive performance that they're looking at. And to remember that food is information, that your body is going to take that food in and try to figure out what to do with it. And you got to be careful. And it's one of the things from Tim Ferriss's book. Just like a regular diet, you need to be on an information diet. And they're the same thing, right? The sensory input that you're putting into your body is dictating everything else, right? So the book right now is a part of these courses that I created. And you can find the link. There's many links to the Wobbler 360, to my YouTube channel, to all the
Hannah's posted
that
your link tree. Yeah. In the comments, you'll see all the links.
Right. So the new book is right now part of a course, and I'm actually I just started with Mr. Lacey, right, to try to work on our launch group and all of that stuff for the book, because I want to do it right. And I'm not, like I was telling you this before, I really have been embracing this idea of the strong angle, and I am at such peace right now. I am not in a rush. I know what I'm doing right now. I'm going to start building my small tribe, and I'm going to keep growing it from there, because I know that there's people that want this. I know that there's transformers and actualizers out there that want what I can give them, which is this guaranteed continuous transformation that they're looking for. That's what the symbol on my logo is about. The delta, right? That triangle means change in physics, and that infinity sign, which basically means that we have to embrace the idea that change is inevitable. So let's change for the better. Right. So then that was one of the other audacious questions that I tried to answer was, well, if that's true, then how do we do it? Right. How do we constantly improve? We don't want to just improve for a week or a day. right? So I created every single thing over the last 15 years that I've been doing since I figured that symbol out. And this is one of the biggest things when I realized that the strong angle connected to the symbol, that was when my conviction went through the roof. I was like, this is the key, right? To continuous transformation in a positive way, right? So I can guarantee you give me anybody right now for 12 weeks, I'm going to transform them. Right. All they have to do is reach out to me right now. I have a bunch of different options through these courses. I have courses for the individual. I have courses for the coaches and the trainers and the physical therapists out there. I have a brick and mortar place where you can come. I have equipment for sale. And I also have online training programs right now for everybody. And we're working on building that. And that's really what I'm doing right now, is having an emphasis. Why I wanted to talk to you today is to try to find those people. Right. I'm talking to people at the VA right now and different hospital systems, because I just really believe that this thing can be so transformative. And it's a big, I'm telling you, it's the common denominator and the thing that's missing. I've been talking to all these healthcare practitioners, and they're so burnt out and fed up with talking this talk and not being able to walk the walk. Right. And the reason is because we don't have this alignment that needs to be there. We don't have the end goal. We don't understand how to define it. And everybody's saying, oh, do the crystal ball exercise, set your long-term goals, but you don't really have a guaranteed path that's going to get you there, right? And that's what this is all about. And basically right now, I'm offering a money back guarantee, with all these programs are month to month. So if you think that I suck, right, at any point, right. And, in the reality of it is, I know that people don't want their money back. They want the transformation that I can guarantee. But if they decide that it's not, what they want, they can get their money back at any time for the last month that they were in. Right. And the thing that I can guarantee the most is that if you do any of this stuff, you're going to get the most amount of gain with the least amount of pain. Right. And that's really the message that I should probably be, putting out there right now, because every other scenario right now that puts you in the weak angle tries to tell you, oh, you need to grind, no more, more pain. How's the saying go? More pain, more gain, right? Type of thing. I believe that for years.
No
Right.
pain, no gain. Yeah.
No pain, no gain. Right. Exactly. Sorry. Yeah. See, I can't even say it anymore. Right. And I've been conditioning myself so much right now to look at everything and say, why do we need all of this pain to get the gain? Right. And that's the cool part. All the exercise physiology and, muscle physiology. Andy Galpin, just did a series of podcasts with Huberman.
Yep.
And he talked about that. Right. This whole idea of delayed onset muscle soreness leading to functional improvement in performance is a myth. Right. So it doesn't have to be that way. And I've been saying that for years, which even just every time I watch any of this stuff, anytime I pick up the Bible, anytime that I'm, engaging with my clients, it just strengthens this mission that I have right now to get the understanding of everybody about the strong angle.
Lyneil, dude, so good talking to you. So much good stuff. Everyone watching this now, watching it later, please reach out to Lyneil right now. Launching the book anytime, be part of his book launch team, be part of the 12-week challenge. And you and I will definitely continue the conversation, my friend. And I'm looking forward to, bringing it home and being in the strong angle, baby.
Sweet.
Right,
hey,
bud.
Worst case, I guarantee you're not going to get worse.
Love it. Love
All right,
it.
man.
All
Thank
right,
you so
friend.
much, Lance. I really appreciate this. First time, obviously, you made me talk about the bankruptcy again. So cool.
Yeah,
Man.
thanks for being real on that. We all have our, deepest struggles, and the only way you're going to help others is sharing it all. So entrepreneurs, we go through some heavy stuff. So yeah, thanks for putting it out there, man.
It's cliche, but it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, understood. All right.
All right.
Thanks, Lyneil. We
Over
will
and
talk
out.
soon. Okay. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right. Stay in the strong angle, brother.
Strong angle. Okay, let's do it.
All right. Later.